right, Frank Tietie, a rights analyst and rights lawyer, is here to look at some of these developing stories, particularly the oil, or rather the fuel problem that has become a recurring phenomenon. Very warm welcome to Newsnight. I think we should start with the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and its umpteenth excuses of, not having its supply chains or challenges right. For how long should that be? Should Nigerians be weighed down with that, even with the rising pump price of fuel?
Oh, well, I think we still have a regulated pump price, and oftentimes we've joined...
I buy petrol at 750
oftentimes,
at the filling station within the city center.
The problem is when we have unscrupulous marketing outlets that actually make all that kind of adjustment, despite the efforts that have been put into bringing fuel into this country.
Is there a fixed price for the pump price of petrol?
The expectation
is there a fixed price?
The expectation is that when you fix it along with the landing cost together with the regulated prices, one should expect that it shouldn't be up to 700 naira. But across the country, particularly northern Nigeria and other places that I have monitored, I've seen that there is availability of the product, but the price is not very friendly in some stations. I think that's another issue to interrogate. On the other hand, with regards to the NNPCL responsibility, I like the fact that it has not shirked its responsibility in taking on the fact that it is statutorily empowered to ensure energy security in Nigeria. And to that extent, it's ensuring that it must constantly respond to the fact that there must be fuel supply in across the country. The fact that it is always responsible and not shiking away, first of all, it's heartening. What I do not want is a situation where we often join the bandwagon, like I've often done myself, taking on the NNPC, attacking it and saying that NNPCL, saying that it ought not to in any way, give any excuse for shortages. Well, coming to realize that it has been faced with quite a number of challenges that it has over time overcome. And I like the fact that when it begins to, make statements that these shortages, these problems with supplies as a result of logistic problems, I think we should take it seriously, because oftentimes it has happened and then they've overcome, and then we've seen fuel supplies, a full back in swing, and then they are...
This is running for more than a fortnight now. Why the usual excuses? Is the NNPCL overwhelmed?
Oh, certainly not. But you need to look at the dynamics, and I look at this from the perspective of the fact that we still import petrol, and this is
whose fault is that? The fault of Nigerians?
No, we import...
No, is it the fault of Nigerians?
Oh, well, the truth about it is that the reality is that we import petrol in this country. The NNPC is the sole importer as a result of the difficulty of sourcing forex. The NNPC has access to forex and is doing the importation. Whether or not it has sufficient supplies for this country is a different matter.
So where is the deregulation in this sector?
Oh, well, the NMDPRA... No, I need to explain to you, to the best of my knowledge, the NMDPRA has licensed certain number of private marketers to import fuel, but do they have the capacity? Do they have the FS to import PMS? So if the NNPC takes that responsibility and has not failed and has not shirked in its responsibility, saying that it must always at all times be responsible for providing fuel for Nigerians.
Shouldn't it discharge its responsibility very copiously to the satisfactions of Nigerians and not put them under the stress that they are going day in, day out? It's becoming, a part of,
what I do,
their routine.
What I do understand, what I do understand as a consumer myself and as a watcher of the industry is that the NNPC has its limits and it has its clear-cut responsibilities in ensuring that there is energy security in the provision of PMS in the country. Now, supply chain disruptions may be outside its purview of responsibility. However, I have noticed that the NNPC continues to take responsibility and keeping on assuring Nigerians. I think we should adopt... I think we should adopt some measure of optimism.
Lagos and Abuja, they admitted they don't have, they have supply chains problem.
Yes.
And you said your own private investigation in the far north, you discover that they have sufficient petrol.
Yes.
Where did the logistics
well,
pass through to get to the far north?
That's so.
Through the rail from Lagos to Kano, or through the barges to Lokoja to Benue and the rest, the River Benue?
Why not making excuses for the NNPC? I am aware.
No, the
truth about it is that I just caution that we should be a bit more optimistic and be supportive of the NNPC, despite the challenges it goes through. The reason is this: if it were to allow it to be overwhelmed by these challenges that are all known world over, I think we'll be in a greater crisis. So now, many Nigerians don't understand the extent to which the NNPC goes to ensure whether or not it has to borrow money, to ensure that fuel is available. No, I mean, and then with all of this negative backlash of poor publicity on truth and negative, attack on the
Frank, let's quickly look at SERAP, the socio-economic rights organization, talking about the allowances, these recurring phenomenon of the salaries, allowances, accruals to our legislators, running into millions of naira monthly,
possibly
2 billion every month to take care of the salaries of just about 460 persons and the rest. SERAP is asking that, hey, the leadership should give it an account, disclosure, of the accounts and the rest.
I think there are two things. Now, Nigerians are often, flabbergasted and probably incensed when they hear the large amount of money that they've been taken home by members of the National Assembly. And one senator came out recently and said, actually, his salary is at about 1 million, and after deductions, it comes down to 600.
Ramfak said that one.
Says 600,000.
Then the senator from Kano said he takes home 29.4 million.
No. I think we need to make the distinction. The distinction is that his take home, what he gets, what's paid into his account, rises up to 21 million naira, meaning that we're talking about a certain head called running costs. And that's what I fail to find in the Constitution and the various provisions that have been cited by SERAP. So the question that we have to make, the distinctions we have to make, will be in the area of whether or not running costs fall within the purview of what Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission can actually make recommendations on. The National Assembly, by virtue of Section 84 and Section 124, can actually make recommendations as to the salaries, allowances of certain individuals who work for the federal government. Whether it can appropriate that for itself is a different question. But the real point of contention here...
Does the law allow it for them?
So I believe it requires interpretation, because if you look at the provisions of the third schedule, particularly section 32 subsection D, it does not mention
categorically,
it does not mention running costs, whereas it actually empowers the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission to make the determinations of what are the remunerations, the salaries, the allowances of members of the National Assembly. But we're talking about running costs. So in this case, there's a National Assembly that has budgets of billions of naira. How it now appropriates a certain amount of running cost is a different matter for the National Assembly to explain. It is not yet culpable. It is not yet a culprit. However, SERAP is saying make full disclosure. And I believe that there is absolutely nothing that prevents the Senate President or the Speaker of the House of Representatives from making those things available, making the information, the data available to Nigerians. That this is the reason why a senator whose salary ought to be 1 million with deductions coming to 600,000 now takes home 21 million. He needs to just explain. If the explanation is cogent, fine, good and fine. But I doubt whether it will be pleasant to Nigerians.
Thank you very much. Let's leave that to the public to digest and the rest, and know where the problem or the problems, are really coming when it comes to...
the problem actually is the running cost. Please, this is our country, and let us not, bury our heads in like the ostrich in the sand. The idea is that you cannot imagine that the senator will actually operate with 600,000 naira as a monthly salary. That's practically impossible, and
why?
practicable. No.
Why?
The truth about it is that because of the expensive nature of the presidential federalist democracy that we operate, where the member of the House of Assembly or the member of the House of Representatives or the Senate is seen as the direct repository of what government is to their people, where he has to spend money, dole out money. So somehow there has to be a very legitimate way that they can earn certain amount of money to even cover the cost of newspapers, the cost of entertainment, the cost of all of those persons begging them money every day. So we need to take another look at the way the democracy operates, or else they might just find a way of getting money illegally. So if we understandably see that these offices require a certain amount of expenditure beyond salaries and allowances, then we'll have to find a way to make it available to them, or else we'll be just deceiving ourselves.
Thank you very much, Frank Tietie, a rights analyst and rights lawyer, for coming on Newsnight.